What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? I'm Mr. Rad, and welcome to today's video. And following along, I have been grinding away literally on the rally car, trying to get this thing ready for an event in less than basically a week now from when we have to depart. At the last rally, we won the Ken Block Flat Out Forever Award, which I'm still forever grateful that somebody would even consider us to be in the same realm as Ken Block, even if it's in the simple sense of we just never gave up and we're always going to push so that we can finish the rally. But what that has left us with is a very, very broken car. So in the last couple videos, we have been swapping a 12A full Bridgeport Rotary engine into this car. And right now I am getting ready to pull it out. And you might ask, why is that? Well, the transmission tunnel needs some creative massaging, sealing up so that we don't burn ourselves down inside of the car. In addition to, at the last, or I guess 3 events ago, my Holly Pro Dash, the digital display completely failed. Therefore, I've got to install some gauges in this car as well. So along this journey, we've got quite a bit of things to sort out, but let's get started. Let me tell you what, I'm normally not an engine out with the transmission attached kind of guy. It's just not my speed. But considering they both have to come out, I'm just taking it all out as one unit. It's a little bit easier. Chill, bro. It's a good thing it's a race car and not worried about scratching it. So down in here, we've got the engine bay of the rally car. You can see where I've added tabs to hold the new rotary engine in here. Same thing with cutting a bunch of material off of the existing crossmember. I had this lovely little block of, anti-inflammatory material here resting on the K-member to basically keep the engine from sitting on it while I built the engine mount, so it's real tight. Need to repaint all of this with its respective colors, touch up my core support mods right here, which I will show you. One of the most trick additions to this car, which is the whole removable 1-unit core support. But once we get all that done, then we can work on the wiring, finish the tunnel, and put the engine back in. This is the dash of the rally car. You can see I've been running a Motec basically for the last 2 events because the Holly Pro Dash died, in addition to, Ken Block always riding with us. So we've got to take this nice shiny piece of aluminum, and unfortunately I've got to peel my Motec off. I'm going to be replacing that with all these gauges. All 5. Because gauges. So let's take a look at what we've got. We've got water temp, Pro Comp, Sport Comp Auto Meter. Water temp, this is old school. These gauges came in that car whenever I bought it. I also have a Auto Meter volt gauge. Honestly, mostly unnecessary, but I have one, so we're going to put it on. Auto Meter Sport Comp tachometer. It only goes to 8,000, which is kind of a problem. There isn't a pin in here, so it's just going to continue past 8,000. So in the videos, you're just going to see us at, the 1,000 mark down here is probably-ish 10,000 RPM rotary life. Unfortunately, it's not a Pro Comp Auto Meter Monster Tack, which is the big one. Then I've got a old Pro Sport digital oil pressure gauge. Used to be in the mouse. It's been laying around. It's not going to match anything. We're using it. And then lastly, because we don't have a fuel gauge, this is a parts store fuel gauge. 0 to 90 ohm, that's what the fuel cell is. So I've got to find a way on my whole dash setup here to orient all this. So I'm thinking this mark right there is the center of the steering wheel. I think like tachometer, front and center in the middle. Maybe we go with water temp on this side so Calvin can see it. So that would be, imagine that stayed up there. I like symmetry, so maybe voltage over here. Does Calvin need to see fuel? We'll probably put the fuel gauge over here and the oil pressure gauge over here. So I'm going to draw all of that out on the dash, and then we're going to go use Calvin's fancy press hole puncher thing that can punch holes in all sorts of crazy big stuff. So gotta peel the Motec off, draw more circles. We'll get this dialed. It needs to live on somewhere. Oh no, not the dash. Here we go. Calvin gets the Motec. So these were the previous holes. Basically, we're going to try our best to, I think, just make that hole bigger and then fit these around them. So ultimately the tack is going to go right there. And I know that, you know, this square is cut out, so there's going to be some weird stuff going on, but we're just going to manage with what we got. So I didn't necessarily plan on taking all of this Holley wiring out, but we're taking it out. It's already done. Holley wiring harness, junk, old school gauges, less junk. All right, guys, I am actually proud of this. So we got gauges. Check it out. Not in our ears, on our dash. Odd side to normal side. We have oil pressure, fuel level, tachometer, clocked appropriately for the rotary, which means we'll be living at the top at 8,000 RPM. I think this is coolant temperature and battery voltage. So pretty stoked with how this came out, but honestly more stoked with how the backside of this came out. So one of the things that I despise about running gauges is the fact that there is 600 million different wires that all kind of link together and do the same thing behind all your gauges. So like each one of these gets positive 12 volts. So there's like a 1 to 5 split of 12 volts, and same with ground, and then you have all the sensor wires and et cetera, et cetera. Now you might say, wiring up a Holley Pro Dash like EFI style digital display might be a little bit tougher. I think it's a lot cleaner because I then have one ginormous plug-in that goes in, versus on this, I still made it so that I have one like Deutsch connector here, an 8-pin Deutsch connector that plugs into the car. But this little sub harness, you know, to be able to replace each individual gauge, then you gotta, there's a lot of little connections in here that are like crimp-on blade connections and stuff that is just, I don't know, in my mind, it's motorsports, but I wish it was like one big connector. You feel me? So let's go put this in and hope that all of my wiring is correct, because I did it myself. There really isn't going to be a good way for me to test all of this besides just turning it all on, because obviously I pulled the engine back out of the car, so we just need to make sure it works. Oh. Now we go right in. Okay, got that plugged in. Gotta put my giant on-off switch through here. Yay, gauges. Okay, battery's hooked up, so in theory, we'll see if this thing burns to the ground. So what I'm looking for here is obviously voltage should come on, the tack should spike or go to 0. Temperature isn't gonna work, I don't think, because it's obviously not hooked up, and the oil pressure gauge should at least light up but not give me a pressure. Fuel gauge should work. So this will be the first time ultimately we've had a working fuel gauge. Oh baby. Alright, so we're sitting at 12 volts, that's a win. Fuel gauge lights up red, pretty fired up. We got oil pressure fired up, tack, and the tack jumped, so I think that should work. The ultimate test that I should go do is go fill this thing up with gas completely and see how much fuel's in there. So I kind of want to do that right now, so let's just go put gas in this. All right, it is completely full to the brim. So in theory, we should have completely full to the brim on the gauge, or at least somewhat close to that. We were at like a half a tank whenever I turned it on. I put probably 6 gallons in, so it's a 14-gallon tank. So hopefully that's, you know, reasonably reflective of our gas level. And try it right here. Moment of truth. I mean, that's pretty much full. So at least it reflects that I put fuel in. So we'll get a good gauge of, like, you know, full isn't entirely full, but maybe empty is more than empty. I don't know. We'll see. So everything else cracking off. Good to feel all that dialed in. The other thing is I've got the clutch stuff set up. I tweaked the arm just a little bit so that the OEM Mazda clutch push rod works perfectly. So we have a proper clutch. And basically me pushing the pedal down, I'm bottoming out the piston in the master cylinder before the clutch pedal is hitting the floor. So I might need to add like a clutch stop for the sake of, I don't know if I'm gonna break that master cylinder, like completely forcing it, but at least I know that I have enough throw in the pedal. So slide aside, but now that all of this stuff is, you know, we're gauging now, the interior is not quite done, but once I get the sheet metal for the tunnel, we can put that together, and once I've got the engine back in, then I will put a little steel plate over the gas pedal down there. So, huge win. We are moving right along. All right, guys, this is the moment you guys have all been waiting for. Literally, solving a huge problem with rotary swapping any vehicle is keeping everything cool. This is honestly one of the things I'm the most proud of with completely rotary swapping this whole entire car, aside from like doing it all in a week, you know, the week before the rally, is my core support. I have came up with, this is my radiator and oil cooler all in one piece. I'm only holding the oil cooler lines and holding the radiator itself. So right here, this whole piece drops right in with one nice little alignment. You just kind of line up. There's some, oh my cardboard was getting stuck. That's outside of my control. So you take this whole deal. Oop. That one goes there. That one goes there. And then this whole piece literally just drops right in here, just like that. So now I've got oil spilling everywhere. Stay, don't make a mess. We've got the whole core support removable as one unit, and I cannot be more happy. So one of the things with rotary engines and, you know, just in general sustainable race cars is the versatility of the car itself and how easy it is to work on. So having the radiator oil cooler, you take off the main, you know, lines for each one, lift the whole thing out. Now we have the ability to remove our engine with 2x4s without having to go up, you know, over all of this stuff. And it just makes the serviceability of this thing, you know, 10x. This is an FC oil cooler. OEM RX-7 oil coolers are pretty much like one of the best bang for buck oil cooler size functionality. They've got a built-in thermostat, as y'all saw in the last video. And if you can find one, I'd recommend running one. But keeping things sustainable in a sense of can you find the parts is also one of the most important things that I like to, you know, put into all of my builds. So this is just a Champion 3-core 1979 Mazda RX-7 radiator. This is the same radiator that's in the RX-7. It's nothing crazy or special. You can get bigger ones for your RX-7 if you want. However, this radiator in my RX-7, 100-degree racetrack day, Summit Motorsports Park, Shenandoah Circuit with Gears and Gasoline driving line like 3 weeks ago, or I guess a month ago. I took this car out and ripped it for a whole day, Turbo 13B, and I did not have any issues with water temperature. I had issues filling my catch can up literally in 4 laps, but water temperature never saw over like 216, and that would be right at the end, and then it would cool right down. So the major issue though, aside from just having a large radiator with your rotary, is managing heat, and that car does not have any sort of underdrive water pump pulley on it. So I anticipate having an issue with the speed of my water pump on the Dodge Colt. So I have just a regular old stock, old school cast iron, you know, style 12A water pump housing on this car. Just a stock water pump pulley for that. That pulley, its efficiency range is built around regular street driving. Now the rally car, yes, it is street legal. Yes, we drive tons of transit miles, so we're on the street, so it needs to be somewhat efficient for that as well. But on stage, if I'm keeping this thing from 6,000 to 9,000 RPM, which is honestly where this little Bridgeport is going to be the happiest, it's just top end, ripping. That high of RPM for that sustained amount of time, the water pump is going to be out of its efficiency range on the top. It's just going to be churning up the coolant like a boat propeller, and we're going to have tons of turbulence, tons of cavitation. not sexy, clean, laminar flow. And I worry that my small water pump pulley is going to be an issue. So my buddy Josh with Castawell Speed, go check out his YouTube channel. He has a peripheral port 13B swapped Mazda Miata. It's an NA Miata. It's yellow, called the Spicy Banana. Cage, race car, side pipe. It's super loud. It's super rad. You should go check out his channel. He developed a larger water pump pulley for the stock setup, which is not something that's uncommon. I think you can find them, but he's been kind of fine-tuning the size of it on his car to be able to get, you know, what is the proper underdrive amount for the water pump to work. With his peripheral setup, he spins that engine pretty high. He also has a giant radiator as well. So I'll be curious. We'll test this at the next rally. I'm not going to have enough time to change, you know, what the actual water pump pulley setup is, and I really don't want to run one of his 3D printed ones that he's testing right now. So hopefully we can get the size of that dialed in, that we can just simply bolt it on. What I did on my RX-8s, and this was a huge learning experience for me, is large radiator didn't fix my overheating issue, ducting didn't fix my overheating issue. What ultimately, all of that stuff combined with, at the very end, I added an underdrive water pump pulley to slow the water pump down so that at 9,000 RPM, it's more in its efficiency range. That helped keep the RX-8 cool at the racetrack. So for all y'all street cars, you're never going to run into an issue with that. But for race cars, when you're living at 6,000 and 9,000 RPM for, 8, 10, 12, 20 minutes at a time, cavitation, you can't cool off air bubbles in your coolant system very well. You really need that liquid to stay liquid. We could go to an electric water pump, but that's just a lot of extra complication. We could try, I've got electric fans on this car. Electric fans could go on this car. It's wired for that, but clutch fan is honestly going to be, the better situation. So, but, none of that airflow stuff matters if I'm not effectively flowing the coolant. So something to think about for you guys, if you're out there on the track, or even drop it in the comments below if you have a nice off-the-shelf underdrive water pump pulley. I don't want the full setup because I don't necessarily need to underdrive everything. I just want to underdrive the water pump itself. So, it'd be a different belt and a few other different things, but largely the major problem with these dang rotary engines on the racetrack is trying to keep them cool. So we're working hard to keep this thing cool and serviceable. So literally, aside from spilling a ton of oil all over the ground, this thing pretty much just lifts right out of here just like this. And I cannot be more stoked. One of the things too, when I ordered that radiator from Champion, it came damaged. Gotta love shipping companies. See this big hole right here, big hole right there. There's a big old gash in the back of this under the cardboard. I don't really know why I was trying to protect it, but they're just sending me a new one. I'm stoked. I've had nothing but good luck out of these radiators, and this isn't some sponsored thing. This is a good product. It's a good product. Literally, we got one of these in my mom's 57 Chevy. It's just small block Chevy powered 57 Chevy. The thing, you can just take it through a parade and it won't get hot, in addition to the one that's in the RX-7. So pretty stoked. The guy down there, Tyler's, who I called, was super receptive. Bam, bam, let's get it taken care of. You've got a rally event coming up. We'll get you a radiator shipped back out. So also, this is kind of going to be the end of the video because a lot of the little things that I have left to finish on the rally car are little things. It's not what I would call entertaining content for, you guys to watch me put hose clamps and put my dash back in with little screws and make sure everything's all buttoned up nice. You saw the clutch get fixed. I'm waiting on two major components, okay? So I need my drive shaft to be done, and I need my sheet metal for the transmission tunnel to be done. So the stuff's getting bent up at the sheet metal shop. I can only push them to go so fast. Same with the drive shaft people. So the drive shaft, I got the call today. It's done, but I've got to go pick it up. So you guys are going to see this video before I go pick the drive shaft up. Once I've got the drive shaft and the sheet metal to finish the tunnel, literally the car will be done in the next video. So it has to be done because the day after y'all see the next video, the car leaves to go to the rally. So it's getting to be a tight schedule. But anyways, with that, thank you guys so much for watching the videos. I want to thank the Patreon members for supporting. If you haven't heard about the Patreon, it's where you kind of get access to my brain. So there's a thing on there called Rad Solutions. You can go check that out. If you're a member of Rad Solutions, you can ask me questions. I make videos to answer those specific questions. You know, I can't make a YouTube video about how to change a window regulator in an RX-7, but for the Patreon guys, I can like take a door apart and show you. So that's kind of how that all works over there. There's other tiers on there as well that you can go check out. There's a secret project section on there with has some of the things I've been alluding to with what I'm, you know, kind of fixing up the Radix-7 for. So there's been a lot of work done on the Radix-7 in the background to just the regular content that you guys have seen, in addition to, you know, the last video, the update on when I'll get to finish the Turbo RX-8 and this. Those are the next projects. So, you know, next week, Rally Week, is going to be super hectic just with, you know, family stuff I got, obligations to do now, and then the rally itself. So, you know, wish us luck. Same thing, you know, thank you guys so much for the comments, sending some love our way for, you know, our family. We had a pretty good loss in the family earlier this week, so thank you guys so much for your love and support, and thank you guys so much for your love and support on the videos. So with that, thank you again for watching the videos. Make sure, friends, family, people around you, make sure you tell them you love them, you appreciate them. Might be the last time you get to do that. You never know. In addition to, build a life you don't need a vacation from. So with that, keep it rad. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace. All right. Just want to show y'all something kind of cool. At the end of the video, we'll just do a little hike since there's really no projects to hide anymore since y'all saw the FD, so I can show you around outside. So I'll comment on one of the other videos. Yes, I still own my Rotary truck. I'll never sell it. They'll probably have to bury me in it because it's just the best. Green RX-8's doing green RX-8 things. I got to haul the caddy off for scrap. I still have my RX-5, which looking a little worse for wear, but somebody, you know, y'all that watch all the minutes of all the videos, drop a comment below. What do we do with the RX-5? So Calvin's got his Chevelle that we're going to try to do a road trip on in the next couple months. We're going to bring it out here and work on it. And I know it's V8 stuff and whatever, but I've got a brown RX-7 I'm going to build alongside of his Chevelle. It's at the other house. It's at my parents' house, so whatever, but we got other things out here too. Parts cars, an E30, the right-hand drive, Savannah GT, see? Savannah GT. So, just grinding out projects, guys. Grinding out projects. Definitely, I don't know. I'd like to find something cool to do with the Cosmo, but I really have this vision of like, one of the things that's inspired me in my life is like super professionally done hot rods. So I really like imagine taking the Cosmo and like doing a full-blown like 3-year long every square millimeter of it to perfection build, you know, Rotary themed, but like a real restoration, not just kind of, you know, track car builds and stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.